Hey, I'm Danielle, and I want to talk about a very important topic today. And if you're ambitious in your career, or even if you just have the desire to be ambitious, you've come across this idea, which is that I should be further along. I constantly need to remind myself that I'm exactly where I need to be in my career, and that's just the most important thing that I can say in order to give myself that peace of mind and actually take advantage of the place that I'm at and just embrace it, basically. As you can probably tell, I'm on my way to work right now, and I'm currently in a job where I'm essentially the salesperson for a co-working space and entrepreneurial community. It's an amazing company and such an amazing team, and just naturally with many jobs, especially I feel like in your 20s, there are pieces I love to it and pieces that I really don't love so much to it. And this reminds me of a conversation I had the other day with someone who remembered hearing me say that cliche phrase about relationships that people are with you for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, and she was like, maybe that's true in your career. And I just like had one of those brain explosion moments, and I was like, I think you're right. And so to further explain this, the reason season or a lifetime thing in relationships is that, you know, sometimes people are in your life for a reason to teach a really important lesson, and usually those are like the painful relationships, the toxic relationships. The season is people who are important to your life, and it just really has a defined end date, and you know, can hopefully leave peacefully. And a lifetime is the people that you want to spend a lifetime with, more of your soulmate, and this so ties into work. And so, you know, there are those toxic jobs that you just can't wait to get out of. You dread going in each day. It's like torture, and you just want to get out of there. There's the season ones that it's like, yeah, you know, this is an important part of my life, and you know, I'm here and I generally enjoy it, but I know I don't want to do this forever. And then the lifetime is when you find, you know, a career path that you're just super pumped about, super passionate about, and you just really want to continue down that road and pursue it. So I thought this was an amazing comparison, and I'm really starting to think about what this means for me. It became pretty evident that this job role is here for a season. It's not, you know, that reason option where it's actually toxic and I dread it. Of course not. I would really do anything I can to get out of there if that was the case. And it's not necessarily a lifetime, because this, you know, at the end of the day, this work is kind of in the real estate industry, because I'm selling co-working memberships and office suites to entrepreneurs, and it's kind of in the hospitality world because, you know, I also manage one of the properties and just support the tenants there. And you know, that's not my least favorite thing I've ever done, and it's not necessarily my jam. So there's some amazing things that I'm learning and some things I really appreciate about this job that I want to think about, I want to capture, and just take that forward with whatever I do next. So I'm like 30 seconds away from work, but once we get in there, I'll share a little bit about my current work routines in this role and just what's working best. Alright, so I'm all set up this morning. I typically work out in the open since this is the property that I manage, and I'm just dealing with different things that people need, but this morning I have some very important things to do, so I'm hiding away in a vacant suite. And I wanted to talk to you about work routines. So I think these are different at every job that you have and every role that you have, but just based on the type of work that I'm doing and what I need to manage, I've pretty much figured out what actually helps me to be productive. So I figured out these work routines based on the biggest challenges that I've had to deal with. I basically have felt constantly bombarded since I started. Wow, that rhymed. And essentially I'm constantly dealing with just needs that are popping up at this property. I have so many emails that are coming in constantly, and they need to be responded to pretty quickly, and like a fair amount of meetings. And so I'm having to deal with just a pretty packed schedule and constant interruption, essentially. And it's like, okay, well, how do you be productive in that environment? So I figured out a few things that really work for me. So when it comes to email, I think it's very easy to get constantly distracted and always pulled back to your inbox and never get anything done for long-term projects. So what I've figured out is that if I do a sweep through my inbox at the beginning of the day, answer the most important things, get to as much as I can, do a midday check-in, answer more emails, and then at the end of the day, I kind of wrap it up, get any final emails answered that needs to be answered that day, hopefully everything in my inbox ideally, then I've pretty much got the bases covered, and then those chunks in between, I can be more productive rather than constantly being answering an email here and an email there. It's kind of like batching, where you wouldn't wash a sock in the laundry, you would actually do like a full load of laundry, and that's kind of what I'm trying to accomplish here in those 3 times per day. Now, when it comes to meetings, I've never had the issue of forgetting meetings before until I just got an intern recently, so I'm trying to manage my own schedule and his, and I was just forgetting meetings and like jumping on 5 minutes late, which I like to be on time. So I actually started setting meetings on the alarm on my phone. So if I have a meeting in an hour, I'll set an alarm for like 55 minutes so that a few minutes before the meeting, it reminds me, you know, I run to the bathroom, I get some water, and then I'm ready for the meeting. And then when that's over and I'm starting to get back into my work, I set an alarm right before the next meeting so I don't forget. Again, I've never had to do this before, but just with the amount of things that are flying my way and just constant interruption, it's been really important to set those alarms as a reminder. And I know that there are these things that kind of pop up on your computer if you have it set for Google Calendar, but that doesn't always work for me. So I find it helpful to have the alarm on my phone. And then the third most important thing in my mind is having priorities each day. So it's kind of like those musts for the day. So this could be in short-term projects or long-term projects, but it's like, okay, I've got to answer my emails, I've got to go to my meetings, but besides that, I want to get these 3 big things done. It's not always 3 for me, but I think that's ideal if it is. Sometimes it's like a whole list of tasks to check off, but ideally it is these 3 priorities, or at least like a consolidated number of priorities. And this ties into my team does a 90-day plan, and so we have these bigger initiatives that we're trying to accomplish, and I started really putting those as my focuses each day in order to make progress on the longer term important stuff and not just the urgent things that are flying in my face. So that's kind of how I'm managing those challenges and dealing with a busy schedule and trying to be productive. As you can see, I blocked out an hour and a half before some of my meetings start to get to the important sales tasks, in all caps, and put these things that just hadn't gotten done for a while. So it's super important to block out time for the things that matter. Also, I recently switched over to, instead of a crazy Google Doc for managing my tasks, Asana, which is a software. It's actually free if you use the basic version, and that has saved my life. So I've got top priority and all kinds of other categories of things that I need to do. So to tie this into what I was talking about earlier this morning, I know that this is a season of my life. I'm learning some really important things in terms of just managing my workday that I know that'll carry forward. And it just continues to remind me, as long as I focus on that, that I'm exactly where I need to be, even though it's easy to forget that sometimes. So I need to get back to work, and I will talk to you on the way home. Oh, it is 100 degrees in here, but actually it's like 90 degrees outside, so it's probably 100 degrees in here. Today was a pretty good day. My meetings went well, and I got some things done that I'd been putting off for a while, to be honest. I mean, I always get things done by the deadline, but if there is no deadline, there's just certain things that I avoid like the plague. But that's a different story. Anyway, an important piece to really embracing where you are that I have not mentioned yet is actually planning for the future. You can fully accept exactly where you are in your career while also being excited about possibilities of the future. And honestly, this is something that I've missed, and I still do miss. And even though I have no plans to leave the job I'm in, I actually think it would be really, really helpful if I get back to that. If I get back to that, you know, like research, conversations, mapping things out more for the long term, because I know that that just gets me interested and helps me get a better understanding of what's out there. So I will be doing this, but if you are in a job that you generally like, but sometimes stresses you out, and you feel like there are more fulfilling things out there for you that you know in the long term that you want to do, even if you don't have plans of leaving your current role, I highly recommend just grabbing a journal, grabbing also that book, Designing Your Life, and just starting to block out maybe 30 minutes a week. Even that much can make a difference. And just spending that time to look into the different possibilities for you and your future. All right, I'm gonna head into my house, but there's one last thing that I wanna show you. This is actually the next day now, and we need to talk about one of the things that you can actually do to accept exactly where you are in your career. And that is to get your journal out and journal about two things: what you appreciate about your current job and what you've learned from it so far. And if you are in a job where you generally like it, but you've got tough days and it kind of stresses you out and you know it's not what you want to do forever, then this is exactly what you need to do. So grab your journal and just set a timer so you don't have to think about the time for 5 minutes, and like, don't look back. Just go, just keep writing whatever comes up and just capture it on the page. Doesn't have to be perfect, just kind of brain dump what you appreciate and what you've learned from your job so far. So you can actually do this with all your previous, gigs and internships and jobs that you've done, or you can just do it with the one you have now if you're in the position that I was kind of mentioning before. So I'm gonna actually set a timer and do this and share what comes up. So that was an interesting exercise. I liked it. It's definitely more focused on just appreciation and acceptance of where you are rather than just like the full reflections. But I think if I wanted to do this more holistically, just looking at the full picture, I would do what I appreciate about the job and what wasn't a fit so much. So I look at that flip side. And then also what I noticed is in the what I've learned so far, you can do both skills and lessons. So like new skills that you've picked up just with this kind of work, as well as lessons you've either learned from just being in that environment or you've learned the hard way. But I'll share some things that came up. With the first one of what I appreciate about the job, I thought it was really great to think about your team and just the culture there. So for me, the team is really driven and they're close and we're fun and easy to get along with and pretty fast paced, so I enjoy all those pieces about it. You can also think about the style of the job. So I think the one I have is pretty independent and there's like a sense of ownership, which is really important to me. When it comes to what you've learned so far, for me, a big sense of urgency is important. So a lesson that I've learned is that don't put off those little things that you don't know how to do because they'll probably take 2 seconds. I've experienced that multiple times. And I think it's true in your personal life too. I've also learned how to manage an intern effectively. I just got an intern like maybe a month ago and I've learned a lot from that process so far. So it was good to kind of think through specific skills as well as lessons that have come up so far in this job that I've had for 6 months. So to wrap this all up, everything we've talked about so far, I just want to say that you are exactly where you need to be. I constantly need to remind myself of this because things always make sense in retrospect. Looking backwards, you can see how this led me to that, or I decided to take this route and made this decision and now I'm over here, or how all these pieces came together, that little domino effect of life. You can only figure that out going backwards in time. So right where you are right now may be a little bit confusing. I am definitely in it with you right there, wondering why I am where I am and where that's going to get me in the future. It's really all a mystery.
So all we need to do is just trust that we're here for a reason and everything is gonna work out, and just continue to, you know, reflect and get excited about the possibilities, and I have a feeling that things will work out for the best. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe so you can get more videos about career and personal development, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!